Hi, welcome to another one of our videos where today I'm going to be looking at how you save back pain yourself from back pain during daily movements and activities. Alright, so this is a very important video, by the way, because it's no real fancy exercises I'm showing here, but this is really trying to remove the trigger. So success with any rehab program is truly trying to identify the trigger and removing it. If you don't do that, your treatment, no matter what treatment or exercises you do, they have no chance of working, because the thing that's actually running the problem all along is still at play. So until you actually identify it and then remove it, you won't get anywhere. And I see this all the time, people relying on us to exercise their way out of it, and the exercises are the right things, but they just can't be they just don't stand a chance. Leading big back pain researcher Stuart McGill refers to this as picking the scab. So it's a bit like cutting your leg. The scab heals to heal the cut, and you keep picking it off all the time before it's actually gone through the process of being healed. So you'll just never get anywhere. So it's more of the same will give you more of the same. You have to change. What are the things that you're really looking for in the daily movements and tasks? Are repetitive bending, spinal flexing, and poor bending is common to nearly all back pain. So sometimes it's not flexing, it might be extension, but they're very common to the bulging disc. We're just seeing so many of them of late. So every time you keep bending it instead of using your hips, same with overextending it. Without using your hips, you're putting more pressure in the discs, and you're just going to wear things out. It's just a matter of time. The analogy I like to use of this to explain to people, and it sort of really hits home, is imagine a piece of wire. So I'm going to show you what I mean exactly by that, so it'll really ram home this point to you. So let's have a quick look. I'm going to explain very quickly what happens when you constantly bend and flex your spine, and I'm going to use a piece of wire to explain what I mean. Alright, so if you watch what I'm going to do here, I've basically got a piece of wire, and it's quite strong and stiff when you first get it. You can bend it, but you can't break it. It's too stiff, it's too strong. But from constantly bending it at the same point, so backwards and forwards, always at the same point, so you can see it's quite strong, it's quite stiff in the beginning, but with the constant repetitiveness of the bending at the same point, the wire begins to weaken, and it's just a matter of time now until I eventually snap it and break it. Now the same thing happens when you constantly bend and flex at the spine, and from poor movements, especially sitting, poor training technique, too many sit-ups, doing crazy yoga poses and you're not good enough for it, and eventually bang, that's what happens. And that's the analogy of like what happens with your spine around the disc level, and that's wherever your pain is. So if it's in the thoracic spine, even up near your neck, it's where you're constantly hinging. That's where your problem's going to be found. All right, so this just gives you sort of the idea of what happens at your spine, and it's pretty much the same thing. All right, so I hope you enjoy that, and it helps to explain the theory of back pain. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that quick analogy, but it really is very true, even like I said, for thoracic pain as well. So as I've mentioned 1,000 times in articles and videos, and even in this video already, the key is to master the bending action and the hip hinging action. So where the hips are sliding back, these are gym exercises, but they don't have to be gym exercises. It could be, you see this guy's just bending at his spine. So he's bending the piece of wire. It's just a matter of time. Doesn't matter how healthy his muscles are or his core strength, it won't save his back, because it's where he's bending from here, instead of bending out through the hips, as you can see all these different exercises here that we've been using. So let's have a look at 4 common activities, the daily activities that people just do and they think nothing of them. They're not exercises, they're just things that we do, that we just do to live our life. But these things, if you're doing them all the time like this, there's a good chance you're going to be bending the wire. Alright, so let's have a quick look at those. Okay, here's a first of a series of videos I'm going to show you that relate to back pain and everyday movements, and how people often create their back pain from just doing things they don't think anything about. They've done it this way all their life. There's no real technique to it. There's just, I don't know, you just do it. All right. And one of the first ones is tying your shoes up. So Let's have a look at Ellie tying her shoes up here. She's going to show us a couple of versions of a good and a bad version. So this is firstly the bad version. What I'm looking for here is to see if she can keep her neutral posture of her spine. So she's very much lost it, so there's a good chance the disc is going to be pushed out and she's going to end up with all sorts of back problems. It's just a matter of time. By doing this all of the time, you're going to, if she's a good gymnast or someone does a lot of strength training to counter this, she may get away with it. But again, often we see this catching up with people later in life. All right, so this is the first version that we see that's usually pretty poor. All right, so then she ties her shoes up, and then we'll see her move into the next one where now she's going to go over to the chair and do the same thing. All right, so actually now she's going to tie her shoes up with her back in a much better position. All right, so you'll be able to see that she's doesn't have to trunk flex as much. She can keep her back in a much more safer position to be able to do it. Right. So then once she's done that, then we'll see her do back to the floor again, and this time doing it in a safer position. See, she's used a lunge position to be able to tie her shoes up. So now her back's in a much more safer position as opposed to that, where the disc is going to be pushed out and creating all sorts of grief for her back. All right, so that's a simple way to change tying your shoes if you're someone suffering with a bulging disc right now, or any type of back pain for that matter. All right, so let's show you the next one. Okay, here's a second video of our back pain series of everyday tasks, and this one's vacuuming. Now, I've got two pictures here of Dylan doing vacuuming. One's a good one, one's a bad one. If you can't already tell, the bad one's the one on the right. So you can sort of already see before he's moving what's going on here. There's actually a couple of things that are going to be disaster. All right, so first thing is where his position of his back is terrible. All right, so he's got this huge spinal flexion that we can see where he's pushing the disc out. Secondly, his arm's really far away from him, creating a lever. So even though this vacuum pole's not very heavy, it doesn't need to be. If it's far enough away, that lever creates more pressure and requires huge activation of his core to stabilise him. But in the position he's in, he can't do that. So just the repetitiveness of that movement will create all sorts of problems, and you'll see as he keeps moving, he's going to create massive amount of problem there. All right, so see how it comes away. And we see this quite often with people who do vacuuming as a normal task and wonder why they end up in pain. Now, if we educated him on how to do this better, you'll see he'll keep the vacuum. Two things: he's keeping it close to him, and he's keeping a much better position. See, he's got his knee bent as opposed to straight legs on this side and having to bend over. Now he's using his hips to do all he's bending for him and not his back. All right, so you'll see on this left one, it's a much better position, and he's keeping the hands close to him, using his legs as opposed to using his spine. All right, so very, very important for a simple everyday task that you don't irritate your back, because most of these injuries that we see are just created in everyday tasks, and it's a build-up of poor repetitions that eventually breaks the back. All right, so let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so this next movement of everyday tasks is picking up the bag. All right, so something that we just do all the time, don't think anything of. It doesn't even necessarily need to have anything in it. It could just be an empty bag. It doesn't matter. It's just the repetitiveness of the poor movement that is all the problem. So you'll see Nathan here demonstrating poor form. Again, there's two things happening here. So you see even when he puts it down. Firstly, as you've seen a few times already, the spinal problem or position of this back flexing and bending on itself as opposed to maintaining its neutral position. Straight legs, he can't use his glutes from here. All he's going to be using to lift this bag up is his back. He can't use his legs to do any of the grunt work, which is what they're for. The second thing is the lever. Look how far away it is from him. Now, if anyone does deadlifts in the gym, would know that that would not be a good lift. You won't be able to lift much either. You don't have any reps to blow your back out. All right, so he's got to keep the bag close to him. So if we watch what he does now when he does the good version, see how he walks right up to it, and he actually walks so close to it he gets over it. And see how far his hips have gone. He's keeping his back in a neutral position. His bum is pushed out behind him. Legs are bent. the most important thing is he's trying to keep this curve in his back. All right. So now he's in a good position to lift this bag up. All right, and we'll see him lift it up and then put it down using his hips. All right. So that's the safe way to be able to lift up a bag without blowing your back out. All right. So let's watch him again. And anyone done deadlifts would know he's doing a deadlift. All right. So the safe way, and it's not a squat either. See how he's still bent over. So a squat, knees would be travelling forward, and he'd be like that. So it's unnatural to squat to lift something up. It's better to bend. All right. So I'll show you one more video in this series, and then you've got like 4 different things that are everyday tasks. All right. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay. So this last everyday task is one that we use all the time, and it's just really getting in and out of a chair. Now, if you're someone without pain, you might have no trouble with this, but you're someone who has back pain right now, you'd really want to look at these simple things, because your repetitions of doing them poorly are going to contribute to you staying in pain. So basically here I'm going to show you paw form. You'll see how I move my back right over, put my hands on my knees to push myself up, and then I'll do the same thing to go back down. Now this position you'll see it better here when I get to there. All right, so all the things we've seen on all the other videos so far are all happening again. See how they all share the same thing. There's this huge spine where I've had to flex my spine. My discs are going to get irritated, push out. Actually, while I was doing this, I didn't actually want to do too many of them because I could feel like I was going to hurt myself. But and me putting my hands, someone puts their hands on their legs is a real sign of weak legs. All right, so you really don't want to. You shouldn't have to do that just to lift your own body weight out of a chair. It means you're very, very weak if you have to do that. All right, so you'll see if I do that. And then come back down. Now I'm going to show you there's one more bad one. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when I do a good one. So let's say I am needing a little bit of support. I just have my hands resting there, but I'm going to be really trying to maintain. This is very much a squat. Here's the timing of the squat. See, I'm coming out of the chair. My hands aren't pushing me up, but I'm maintaining this posture. All right, that's the most important ingredient, because I'm now no longer flexing. I'm now using the legs, but I'm driving out with a hip action. My hip action goes backward, and I push forward to sit down. So when I go forward, I push forward through my glutes and really stand up quite strong. All right, so as I'm coming up, bang, and there you go. All right, so that's the safer way to stand up get out of a chair. All right, so don't trunk flex on yourself, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble. All right, so I hope you enjoyed those videos, and we'll see you next time. All right, so I hope that sort of gave you an insight into what you need to look for, but obviously there's a ton more. We could keep going and going, but I think you get the point. Really try to learn how to be aware of how you're bending and use your hips as much as you can. Save your back. The more you keep it in neutral, the better. For more information, there's stacks of stuff on YouTube, on our website. There's an in-depth video that goes for 90 minutes of a report that you can get. Just go to our website, to the online shop, and that takes you through everything that I'm just sort of skimming over here. But I hope that gives you some good insight into things that you need to do. So you know, no matter how good your exercise program is, if you're still doing all these daily tasks and ignoring the fact that you're repeatedly bashing your spine up, well, you're going to stay in pain. All right, so make sure that you make this a priority to change now and save your back. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.